Hi guys, and welcome back to another video for Phantasy Star Online Blueburst. Today I'm going to do the next in the series of the Hunting the Uber Rares series that I've been doing, where we look at some of the rarest items in PSO, and I try and give you some of the better ways to try and hunt them if you are trying to find them. Obviously, PSO is a game that is very heavily built around hunting some of the rare gear in the late game in particular, and some of these items are incredibly difficult to get. Because of that, you're quite often going to want to try and create hunts for these items that make it a little bit easier. It's still going to be a difficult find to find any of these, but if you can try and streamline the hunts a bit, it will make it a little bit more tolerable. Now, we've already done videos for the CLJ sword, the Lavis cannon, and the Psycho wand. So today we're going to cover the next one in that kind of series, which is the Heaven Punisher. So Heaven Punisher is a 12-star handgun, and in the earlier versions of the game before Blueburst, it was the only item in the game that had the Divine Punishment special. So Divine Punishment, if you're not aware of what it is, I can actually show you that quickly. I don't actually have a Heaven Punisher myself, but I can still show you Divine Punishment. So in the early games, Heaven Punisher was the only weapon with this special. In Blueburst, they also added the Heaven Striker with the Striker unit mag, as well as the Mil Marteau as well. So Divine Punishment is a special that only works when the internet time, which is in the bottom right of the screen, starts with an even number. So at the moment, we're able to do it. And what it does is it basically fires laser beams from the sky. So this is what special the Heaven Punisher has. If you use it, if the beat time starts with an odd number, you'll just get a normal attack instead. I believe it's like a lock-on normal attack. Yeah, if you don't have Heaven Punisher, the other way to do it, in Blueburst at least, is with the Heaven Striker. I wouldn't recommend doing it with Mil Marteau just because the delay on the beams is too long with it being a mech gun animation. But that is the other way to do it. However, Heaven Striker is not what this video is about. This video is about the Heaven Punisher. So with that, let's get into a few methods of how to actually hunt one. Now, Heaven Punisher is a little bit like the Lavis Cannon and Psycho Wand in that it actually has a drop on every single section ID. But much like those other two weapons, it's another one of these weapons where a lot of the IDs are just not worth hunting on. So let's have a look and see where it actually drops on the different IDs, and I'll let you know which ones are worth doing, and I'll show you some ways to hunt them. So, as I mentioned, every single section ID can find Heaven Punisher technically. But for Blueburst, on Affinia at least, the drop rates are as follows. So, Viridia gets it from an Ultimate Mine Sinnoh Red at 1 in 190,650. Don't bother with that. Greenhill is from a Ultimate Seabed Delbiter at 1 in 131,072. Don't bother with that. Skyly is from a Ultimate CCA Sinnoh Spiggle, which are the ones that decup your weapon. They're like the upgraded versions of the barrels. That is 1 in 22,405. Now, as bad as that sounds, that is actually one of the better drops. So that is one you may look at. Next we have Bluefull, which gets it from... It's the only ID to get it from a rare enemy, so it gets it from Hildator in episode 1. I don't know if it drops in episode 2 on Affinia, but definitely episode 1. And it's from Hildator at 1 in 205. So it's essentially the same kind of deal as the Purplenum Psycho 1 drop, where it's a rare monster at 1 in 205. That is, again, another one of the drops you might look at. We will cover that drop, but it is going to vary a lot on how lucky you are with rare enemies showing up. Purplenum gets it from episode 2 Mirror Carol, which are the big flowers that instant kill you. That is 1 in 12,603. I also realise now that saying big flowers that instant kill you probably doesn't help much because there's several of those. Yes, that's 1 in 12,603, which again is one of the drops you're probably going to focus on. Hinkle is another Ultimate Sinnoh Red, so the same as Viridia. Again, same drop rate, 1 in 190k, not worth doing. Redria probably has the worst drop of them all, which is an Ultimate Seabed Sinnoh Zelle, so that's the red Sinnohs that never show up really in Seabed, at 1 in 299,593. Yeah, probably self-explanatory that you're not going to bother with that one. Oran is Same as Green Hill, so from a Delbiter, but again is in 131,072, so again not worth doing. Yellow Bows is from a Cave Crimson Assassin, which is an easy hunt, because, you know, Cave is pretty easy, but it's 1 in 190,650. You're probably not going to bother with that. And White Hill is from an Ultimate Mind Sinnoh Blue at 1 in 174,763. So, unlike Lavis and Psycho Wand, they had like a reasonable number of drops you could focus on. You know, realistically, with something like Psycho Wand, you were looking at Bluefull Delbiters or Purplenum Lilies, maybe one of the Gibbles drops. With Heaven Punisher, I feel like there's maybe 2 or 3 drops if you're lucky, if that I would focus on, but even then they're not that great. So what I'll do is I will show you the Bluefull method first. Now I realise this character is not Bluefull. I do have a Bluefull character, but he's only just an Ultimate and probably won't be able to do this quest yet. So I'll show you the Bluefull method first, and then we'll show Purplenum and probably Skyly as well. So for Bluefull, you're looking for Hill Detors, so anything with a lot of Hill Delts. So if you're an offline player, I should mention this, if you are an offline player, what I would probably do, so if we're talking like GameCube, Xbox, I haven't unlocked it on this character yet because I haven't done the side story in this character, but you probably want to do Forest of Sorrow. That's probably the best quest offline for Hill Delts. Online though, on Affinia, there's a couple of options. So the really, really quick one is everyone's favourite quest, TTF, so Towards the Future. I know it's TTF. I know no one likes TTF, but unfortunately it is one of the best hunts for finding some stuff. And this is a very, very quick reset hunt, so if you're wanting to do a hunt where you're resetting the quest a lot, this is probably the way to do it on Bluefull. So straight away you've got 1 Hill Delt. Again, I realise this character isn't Bluefull, so obviously if a Hill Detor does show up, I won't get Heaven Punisher. But this is just to show you the method. Just do this on a Bluefull character. So you kill a Hill Delt, run to the next room. You can technically wait for the battle to spawn behind you if you want, but I would just do it this way. It's probably just faster, honestly. So just kill these. And then you'll get 3 more Hill Delts. There's also a Rappy as well, so there's a chance of a Pal Rappy showing up as well. And that is where you end. It's a super, super quick hunt. Full, really, really quick Hill Delts. So that is one method you could use. It is going to be incredibly boring to do that, but for a very fast reset hunt, that's probably a decent option for Bluefull. So next, let's load another game, and I will show you another method for Bluefull, which is honestly the one that people probably use more. So the other one, again, is in VR in episode 1, and it's this one, actually the next quest in the list, so Tyrell's Ego. So Tyrell's Ego is a quest that is kind of infamous for having a massive enemy count, and the forest section in particular is very, very profitable if you are looking for Hill Delt drops. I would recommend, if you're doing this, having a Q Shock equipped, because the amount of Hill Delt in this can get very annoying. So basically all this is just run through the entirety of Forest. You'll see very quickly that you get a lot of Hill Delts, so there's already 2. The downside is there is a lot of other stuff you have to take care of as well, but I mean, it's Ultimate Forest. Providing you're like a reasonable level, it's not going to be hard at all. Obviously, you got a few Rappies doing this as well, so there is a chance of Pal Rappies as well. There is an okay amount of Tolors as well, so if you've got an ID that finds Tolor drops, then maybe that's a reasonable option for those as well. But obviously, if you're doing this with Bluefull, the main thing you're looking for is definitely the Hill Detors. There's another 2. So, yeah, so I'm doing this on Purplenum at the minute just because I have a high-level Purplenum ranger I can show this on quickly. So essentially for this, it is quite simple. You basically just run through the entirety of the forest part of Tyrell SEGA. So obviously it is a much longer hunt than just resetting TTF, but you do get a lot more hill delta. I mean, we're already up to, what, about 6? Another one's just dropped at the back as well. I can't remember offhand how many are in this. I haven't looked at the actual enemy counts, but it is by far one of the best quests for hill delta. Probably the best quest for hill delta, honestly. So why would you use this hunt? First of all, it's generally just a much easier area than the other hunts. Yeah, realistically, the other hunts that we're looking at are Central Control Area in Ultimate and Seabed, which are both kind of difficult areas. So Forest is obviously the easiest area in the entire game in Ultimate, so it is a much more chill hunt for sure. And if you can get Hildatar to show up, 1 in 205, you know, it's... I'm not going to say it's an easy drop because it isn't. We did just get PD'd by a Hildelt, which is actually fine. 1 in 205 is... It's in the realms of doable, which is about all you can hope for with a drop like Heaven Punisher. Obviously the big downside with this hunt is the fact that you are totally reliant on that rare monster appearing. And rare monster hunts typically are very, very unreliable. Because the chance of getting the rare monster is, you know, 1 in 500 RNG from every hill delt. You could go several runs and not see a single hill delt. You could get several Hildatars in the same run. So it is a gamble, but definitely the easiest area to run. If you don't want to, if you don't want to be doing CCA or Seabed, then I can totally understand you doing this. Yeah, I mean, as you can see, the enemy count in this quest is kind of insane. So honestly, any ID that has some good forest drops, this is probably worth doing anyway. But I know that this is the main quest that Bluefull characters tend to use for Heaven Punisher. As for whether I think Bluefull is the best ID for Heaven Punisher, I'm really not sure. I have a suspicion that either Skyly or Purplenum is maybe slightly better, even though the drop rate's terrible, because the enemy is, you know, reliably shows up. You just deal with the drop rate, which you can somewhat mitigate during Rare Drop Week or DAR Week or during events. Again, for this video, I'm not going to cover quests that only appear in events because realistically, those quests are only going to be viable for the couple of weeks they're available a year. Yeah, I think Tyrell SEGA has always been a bit of a controversial quest on Affinia because it is, to a lot of players, it is too good. There is a massive, massive number of hill delts in this for not really any effort. And it does feel a little bit too rewarding. But in theory, more or less every spawn has a hill delt in it. Not every single one, but the majority of them do. I will say for this video, the chance of actually seeing a Hildatar is probably quite low because it is experience week on Affinia as I'm recording this. As for what week you should be prioritizing with this quest, with the rare monster, you could either prioritize rare enemy week or rare drop week. Either of those will work. Obviously, rare monster week is going to increase the chances of Hildatar showing up, but you're going to be contending with the base 1 in 205 drop rate. Or rare drop week, it's going to be the base 1 in 500 chance for a Hildatar to show up, but then a better drop rate if it does show up. Drop all rate weak will not have any effect on this because rare monsters always drop something. They have 100% DAR. So they will always drop something, whether it's money or a tool item or the rare. So DAR weak has no effect on those, much like it has no effect on bosses either. Thanks for that camera view, PSO. Much appreciated. If you've never seen a Hildertor before, Hildertor looks completely different to Hildelt, so it'll be very noticeable when it appears. It's basically kind of like a grey colour. Kind of looks like it's covered in like armour plating, and its horns point forward. But yeah, it looks much different, so there's no chance of you missing it. Yeah, this is definitely a longer run in terms of time between resets, but it is a very consistent supply of Hildelts. As for whether this is more efficient than TTF, I honestly have no idea. I guess it depends like how willing you are to repeatedly reset the lobby for TTF. Because the TTF method is only worth doing if you're resetting after the Hildelts. It's not worth doing a full TTF run and then resetting if you're looking just for Heaven Punisher, because you're just wasting a lot of time. I mean, again, look at this. Well, for this, you should just be doing the entirety of Forest 2. There's no reason to kind of cancel early or anything, because pretty much the entire run through of Forest 2 has a decent amount of Hildelts. Unfortunately, the one downside of this quest is it has a lot of these moth nests, which are really irritating. They just waste a lot of time. The reason they waste a lot of time is because they don't trigger the next spawns until they've completely disappeared. Yeah, Tyrell's Ego does kind of feel a bit like a cheat code to an extent. It should go without saying as well, if you're looking for another... if you are looking for another Hildertor drop, like Frozen Shooter, this is obviously a very good way of doing that. I also can't believe we just got a cross scarf from a moth in Experience Week. Yes, there is quite a few IDs that can make use of this quest for sure. It's probably even good for things like the Heart of Daisy chain drop as well, which I think is that Viridia, I think? That's from a Barbel. This quest has quite a lot of Barbels in it as well, so... yeah, there is no doubt though, the main use of this quest is for Hildelts. Again, though, just make sure you bring a Cure Shock for it ideally, because the amount of Hildelts you're getting, it's very easy to get shocked otherwise. For here as well, once you get to this room, if you don't know, there is an extra spawn here. You just run here. It triggers these, and then there is some more Hildelts after this as well. So make sure you don't miss those. And now we're getting close to the end now. See, it is a reasonably long quest before you reset, but I do genuinely think it is one of the best options for Bluefull just because of the sheer number of hill delts in it. But he's got an Elysium with hit. 5 hit. What do you expect me to do with that game? Again, just to reiterate that this character is not Bluefull, so even if a Hildetar does show up, I will not get a Heavy Punisher from it. This is just to show you the quest, so just make sure you're doing this but on a Bluefull character. For what it's worth, I don't know if I would use this method just because my luck with rare enemies is terrible. Like, I very rarely see Hildatars, so I probably wouldn't get anything from this. Once you've done this room, make sure you go in this warp, because breaking this box spawns 2 more Hildelts. And then we'll come through this way. And these boxes will spawn the last wave of Hildelts. There we go. And that is the full Tyrell Zegor Forest run. Yeah, so once you get to there, then you would reset. Unless you want whatever the dragon drops, obviously. But yeah, typically that is where you would reset on the Bluefull run. So that is probably the best ways of getting it from Bluefull Hildatars. Like we mentioned, there is a few other IDs that are worth looking at, so let's look at those now. So next option is Purplenum, which is handy because this character is actually Purplenum. So Purplenum, as I mentioned, gets it from an ultimate CCA or Tower Merricarol, which are the pink flowers that spit the projectile that instant kills you in ultimate. For that, it's a 1 in 12,603 drop rate, so same drop rate as the Sealed J Sword for Skyly. The best quest to hunt this, so Merricarol's usually a little bit awkward to hunt, but there is one quest I would probably recommend, which is if you go in episode 2 and go to Maximum Attack, there is this quest here, Maximum Attack E Galdaval. So this is another reset hunt. It doesn't take too long to do. I will say I'm not very good at this hunt yet because I've only done it a few times. I've just started hunting this myself, so... Now for this quest, I would probably recommend doing it with a ranger, and I would probably recommend having access to hell weapons if possible, because it makes the hunt a lot easier. I'd also probably recommend bringing something like a demon's rifle or something as well if you can, just to make the Merricarols a bit faster. I don't have one with me at the moment, but... So again, we are looking for Merricarols in this. There is a few spawns to get to them, but this is another reset hunt, so we're going to do basically a 2-room reset. You can see why hell weapons are worth using. Again, it might be worth using Cure Shock for the Ulgibbons, because they're kind of annoying. So I'm basically using Hell on everything so far. I'm using a Hell S-Rank Needle. Most of the things here you can get away with using Hell on. So next we get some Spiggles. So these are what you would hunt for Skyly. So this isn't a bad option for Skyly either. Then you get one that just won't die. Really? So yeah, I forgot that Gibble spawned. So do you have a double Gibble spawn here? You can cheese it just by running back in here. Occasionally, if you're outside the room, you can still kind of cheese them. I tend to use S-rank mech guns for these with demons. So once you get these, then you get 2 mirror carols. So that's your 2 mirror carols. Now, obviously, you do need to be careful with these because they can instant kill. After a little while, you probably get used to the range you can stand at. So yeah, again, 1 in 12,603 from these, so it is a tough drop. You basically just want to make sure you don't go too near them for the most part because it's quite awkward to avoid. Particularly if there's multiples of these, you don't want to be too close to them. Okay, so that's the first room done. So then basically we just do this second room then. So we get a GQ. I will consistently get hit by every single Gibbles that drops. Again, I'm not great at this run yet. Gibbles has this annoying habit of just continually walking at you for a while. Okay, we got it with the demons. I will say the gibbons are a little bit hit or miss whether you can get them with hell. Sometimes I find it easier just to kill them with damage, but with the Marilias and the geese as well, you can easily hell. Okay, so we get more gibbons and another gibbles as well. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to instant kill the gibbles, but it might take some of the gibbons out. Obviously, you need to be slightly careful of these all gibbons because they do have Megad. It's only level 1, but it can still kill you. It will kill you when you least expect it. Okay, so then we get this spawn here. This one is a little bit awkward. So yeah, you want to avoid those projectiles. This one is a little bit awkward just because of those boxes that are in the room when you first walk in. So you can generally get like 3 shots off and then run out again. Sometimes it's shots that get blocked by the box, which is fine. Alright, so that's 1 dead. Once you're down to just 1 left, it's not too bad. But be aware of that. Yeah, so mirror carols can shoot through walls. It's very weird how their projectile works, so sometimes it can't shoot through things like this, but it can shoot through these gates. So yeah, just be aware of that. Once it's just 1 left, though, it's easy. You can just freeze lock it with Frozen Shooter. And then just kill these. Then you get some more Spiggles. Spiggles are a little bit irritating because obviously they do de-equip your weapon when they hit you. They also just seem to decide to just be completely immune to hell sometimes, just by having really low dart resist. Honestly, when there's one of them, sometimes it is easy to just Frozen Shooter them, and then you can switch to a hell weapon after that. And hell them while they're frozen. And then we get the last spawn here, which is 3 Mericarrols. This spawn is a little tricky because they're all exactly level with each other. So you need to try and kind of find the right range where you can still hit them at without getting shot at. So just kind of feel it out. You'll get used to it after you've done this for a bit. Eventually I'll get to a point where I'll be able to clip one of them. There we go. So I'm just focused on this one, take this out. And then same for the next one. There's like a sweet spot for the range where you can hit them, but they don't actually activate their aggro. Then when one's left, it's easy. So yeah, aside from getting randomly shot through the gate, that wasn't too bad. But that is the Purplenum reset for MA Galderval. So that is 6 Mericarrols in a couple of minutes. Again, for me, it took a lot longer just because I'm still getting used to this reset run. It's something I've only just started hunting recently. I think once you're geared properly and you know what you're doing, you could probably get us down to a couple of minutes each reset. So that is probably one of the most efficient ones for Purplenum. There is other quests. Obviously, a lot of the tower quests have quite a few Mericarrols, but they're obviously a lot more difficult and will probably require a party. So for solo mains, this is probably one of the better Mericarrol resets, I would say. There is also Phantasmal World 1, the jungle part of that has a few Mericarrols, but honestly, I would say this is probably more efficient overall. So that is Purplenum. So lastly, let's look at Skyly. So at Skyly, I don't really need to show it too much because, so for Skyly, you are looking for the Sinnoh which are the Sinnohs with the red shoulders. They are at a 1 in 22,405 drop rate. Also, wow, someone just found Cincesta from a Gerta Blue Loot in Experience Week. Jesus. So you have a few options for Spiggles. One option is actually this quest that we've just run. So, as you could probably see, there was quite a few Sinnoh Spiggles running through this. There are, if you just do the first few spawns, that will get you 3 Sinnoh Spiggles. Or if you clear all of CCA, that'll get you 13. So that isn't a bad way of doing it. I would even say maybe just doing a 2-room reset like this, you get a decent amount of them. So it's not too bad. You can also run quests like Sweep Up Operation 7, which has 19 if you clear the whole quest. Or you could do Maximum Attack Full Stage 2C, which has 14 in the entire CCA. So generally you're looking at the Maximum Attack quests or Sweep Up Operation 7 for the Skyly one. There is also a really, really annoying reset you can do with Skyly, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend unless you want to hate yourself. But if you do Phantasmal World 1 and go to Seaside, in the very beginning of the quest, there's a tunnel on the right. And if you go in there and run all the way down the tunnel and then back again, it'll spawn 1 Sinnoh Spiggle, and then you can reset. So if you want to do that and reset 1 Sinnoh Spiggle over and over again, you can do that. I would not advise it, but it's there. I think for Skylight, I would probably stick to either doing this, Sweep Up 7, or do the entire CCA for this. Again, whether you want to do the full CCA run of this or whether you want to just do the first room or the first 2 rooms, that's up to you. It depends how efficient you think each of those methods are. I guess the only way of knowing that is to try the quest for yourself. Certain characters are going to find this a lot easier than others. It is quite a difficult area overall, so mess around with it, see how easy you find it, and then you can work out what the most efficient method is for you. But that is for Skyly. So Sky and Purple are quite similar, really. In regards to other drops, I really wouldn't bother with the others. I think Heaven Punisher is one of these items where it seems to really only be worth going for on either Bluefull, Purplenum, or Skyly. There really isn't any other good drops for it, honestly. As for what the best drop is, this is very, very subjective. Obviously, best drop rate is by far the Hildator one, but that relies entirely on you being able to get Hildators to show up. And if you've ever hunted rare enemies, you'll know that rare enemies are very, very fickle, and you can go for several runs in a row and not get a single one. So it kind of depends if you want to hope that rare enemies show up and have a decent chance of a drop rate from it, or if you'd rather hunt a regular enemy at a terrible drop rate, but at least you know that everyone you kill is going to have a chance to drop it. I think for me, I would probably focus on purple. I think purple is maybe my favourite drop of the three. I don't like any of them, but purple is maybe one of the better ones. You know, this, once you've got this down and you're not getting killed in the doorway like I did, you could probably get this down to a couple of minutes. Particularly with a well-geared ranger. I'd probably recommend doing a ranger for this just because it makes a lot of the ace spawns a lot less of a problem to deal with. Particularly if you have some of the S-rank weapons from challenge mode, which if you're hunting this is probably a good idea. Having something like a Hell Needle makes this a lot faster. So I would probably focus on the purple drop for the most part. I think the Skyly drop is doable. I don't think it's amazing, but I think it is a feasible drop. And the Bluefull drop, again, is just entirely down to how often Hildertod decides to show up, unfortunately. That is a gamble you're going to have to decide on. Whether you want to try for the rare monster gamble, hope you get it, and then you've got a pretty decent chance of getting it. I say that, it's still 1 in 205, so it's still a terrible drop rate, but obviously a lot better than all the other drops. Personally, I think I would probably alternate between Bluefull and purple for the most part. But Skyly is still totally feasible. So yeah, that is Heaven Punisher. I would say out of the sort of the big three, if you like, so Lavis Cannon, Heaven Punisher and Psycho Wand, I've always felt that Heaven Punisher is a little bit harder to get than the others, personally. Because Lavis, the rare monster drop is 1 in 21 instead of 1 in 205. It's much easier, although having said that, I still can't find it. And it has a nice, relatively easy, in inverted commas, forest drop from the Tallars. Psycho Wand again has a few options. You know, the Millerly drop is in a pretty easy area. The Delbiter drop, although Seabed is a difficult area, there's a quest with a lot of Delbiters. I feel like Heaven Punisher is probably the hardest of the three to get personally. But hopefully these will give you some ideas of some quests you can use to try and find it. It is a very, very difficult drop, so do not be discouraged if you can't find it. It is incredibly hard to find. As with anything like Lavis Cannon, Psycho Wand, Sealed J Sword, you know, Handgun Gold, Handgun Miller, these are all very, very difficult drops to get, and are things that you might get lucky and find it in a few runs. You might be still trying to find it months, if not years later, even doing these methods. So try not to be too discouraged if you can't find some of these. They are rare for a reason. The whole point of PSO is to keep you in that grind loop, and by dangling a carrot in front of you, if that's not there, then you start to run out of things to hunt for, so there is a reason that these things are so rare. So yeah, I hope that's been relatively useful. I know we haven't showed the Skyly run, but again, it is mostly just the same quests as purple, honestly, apart from with the addition of Sweep Up Operation 7. If you want to quickly talk event quests, I know for Skyly at least, the jungle quest for Halloween is pretty good, but that does rely on you having a Halloween cookie, so that's why I don't tend to cover it in these videos. So yeah, I will leave that one there for today. We will do a few more of these videos covering some of the other very rare items in PSO. If there is anything particularly you want me to focus on, let me know in the comments. As always, if you have enjoyed the video, please consider either liking, subscribing, or join as a member on YouTube if you want to. You can also follow us over on my Twitch channel, which is also SectionSkyly. I have an X and a Bluesky that are both SectionSkyly, and I do have a Discord server you can join as well, so feel free to join that. I'll leave a link to that in the description as well. Yeah, whichever one of these uber rare items you're hunting, I hope you have good luck with it. Keep trying, don't give up, and hopefully you'll get it eventually. See you guys in the next one.